This is one of the most spectacular places in WA, Edel Land National Park, and I'm travelling to one of my favourite destinations, Steep Point. Here, white sand dunes are surrounded by secluded beaches and azure blue waters. It's absolutely stunning. Wow, I'm so excited to show you this part of the world. It is so beautiful, but you have to have a four-wheel drive to get here. And this is all about the four-wheel drive adventure. I've driven this track many times and it's a great challenge. When you start, the road is easy. The track is fairly well graded, although the ruts driven by wind can shake your fillings out. It's wise to travel at a safe speed. Once you've got off the main track, you're going to move into some real four-wheel drive terrain, and there's one very important thing you have to do. You've got to make sure you let a bit of the air out of your tyres. Now, you need to bring them down to probably around about 15 PSI. Now, it's about perfect. The four criteria for Natural World Heritage listing are exceptional beauty, dynamic ecology, biological diversity, and evolutionary history. A huge part of the joy in visiting this area is taking the time to discover the landscape. And there isn't much that can rival the beauty of the Zuidorf Cliffs. This is a must-see on your four-wheel drive adventure. Made from Tamala limestone, these cliffs were formed between 5,000 and 10,000 years ago, and they stretch an impressive 200 kilometres from Steep Point to Kalbarri. The cliffs are famous for their shipwrecks, and it was named after a Dutch East Indian vessel crashed against the rocks in the early 1700s. More recently, in 1963, the prawn trawler the North 6 is a tragic tale, but also an incredible story of survival. Now, unfortunately, the crew, they drowned, but the skipper was lucky enough to be washed away and he landed up on an icebox and it immediately drifted straight out to sea and was blown right out by the easterly breeze. But the breeze turned around and it blew him all the way back 14 days later and he landed in South Passage where he was rescued. It's an incredible story. This is Steep Point. It's the most westerly point in Australia. This was worth the journey, with cliffs ranging in height from about 10 metres above the water's edge to 30 metres at the top of the point. Just across that passage there is Dirk Hartog Island, one of our most historic landmarks and an incredible place in its own right. And ladies and gents, if you've got one of those four-wheel drives that have been living in the city and have never been out, now is the time to take a drive. It's worth clarifying, you need to be really well organised to come here. Bring your own camping gear, bring lots of water and be willing to have a swim in the ocean because the shower options are limited. But what makes this place so amazing, apart from the landscape, is the fishing. You see, this is one of those few places on the planet left where you can still game fish and catch things like sailfish and marlin and Spanish mackerel and tuna. They're all going through here. The technique can be as sophisticated as balloons filled with helium bouncing guardies across the surface, or simply casting and trawling lures back to the cliff's edge. The fish you catch here include pelagic species, and your opportunity to haul a 20 or 30 pound fish back is very real. Below them, you'll find some of the most ferocious shark species, including makos, bull sharks, tiger sharks, and yes, even the king of the ocean, the great white. Well, the good news is after a torrid fishing session this morning, a lot of the guys have packed up, they've headed back to the camp, and they're enjoying tea and scones at the moment, but I'm sticking at it because the odds have just got to get better. I am definitely the glass half full. But the thing with this place is, you know, you can have good days, you can have bad days. When you do catch a fish, it's just mind-blowing. But even when you don't, and you're standing looking out over this spectacular scenery, wow, it's good for the soul.